So how do you get started with intermittent fasting? I'm going to tell you there's 3 basic steps that are very simple to do that will get you started with this. There's a whole lot of extremism when it comes to intermittent fasting, but I'm going to make it simple for you so that you can eat somewhat of your normal foods and get some of the benefits from it. Now, what are the benefits? You're probably trying to intermittent fast because you're trying to lose weight. Very few people are doing intermittent fasting simply to do intermittent fasting because it's popular. The reason you're doing intermittent fasting, and let's just bring it down to brass tacks here, is you're trying to lose weight. That's why you're doing it. So keep that in mind, that what you want to be able to measure is, are you losing weight along the process, so you can assess if it's working for you. Some people are having diabetic problems, or they're pre-diabetic and they're trying to lower their blood sugar. Intermittent fasting is a way to do it. So let's get started with number 1. It's very simple. Let's say that you wake up in the morning, you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe you have a couple snacks throughout the day. Intermittent fasting for most people essentially means skipping breakfast. Now you think to yourself, how am I going to skip breakfast? The answer is, you're not going to go gangbusters and go all crazy and start doing extreme diets. You're going to build into this. So what I would do is, instead of eating breakfast, let's say at 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning, try to push it back an hour or two to get started with that. So instead of eating your first meal at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, try to eat it at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, I know what you're saying. You're actually saying, well, that's impossible, Dr. Story, because I work. Well, guess what? A lot of people don't work. And that's how they can follow all these extreme diets that you see on the internet. But let's say you do work. You could possibly just have a small snack at 10 o'clock if you really need that food, because your body's going to go through an adjustment phase when it comes to intermittent fasting. But try to start pushing whatever meal you call breakfast, start pushing it a little farther up. So instead of in the morning, kind of have it in the mid-afternoon. Eventually you'll get to the point where you won't need to eat breakfast and you'll just eat lunch. So let's say the hypothetical time at lunch is noon. Great. Well, let's say you normally eat dinner at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Start trying to push that window of, instead of eating dinner at 8 o'clock at night, start trying to eat it at 7, 6 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock. When you do this, then what's happening is you're pushing the breakfast forward and you're pushing the dinner closer this way. So now there's a more limited window with which you can only be eating. There's some benefits to this, and the benefits are, number 1, if you have less time to eat, you're shoving less food into your pie hole. You're eating less food, which means less calories for most people. Now, one could simply gorge and eat tremendous amounts of food during a 5-hour window, and it's just a gluttony of food, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you're not losing weight. Duh, McFly, you're eating too much. But most people, when they eliminate a meal or eliminate snacks, they start losing weight simply because they're eating less calories. Number 2, start making sure you're getting enough of your what are called macros, in particular your protein. So the first meal of the day, you want to have protein. You want to have eggs, you want to have meat, you want to have cheese, you want to have something that has a high amount of protein. Don't eat boxed cereal, don't eat Life cereal. It's not going to extend your life. The only thing that Life cereal has extended is the date with which it lasts on the shelf. So cereals are out. Don't eat crappy food. Don't eat processed foods. Try to eat healthy foods, but primarily your first meal should be protein. There's a benefit to this, and it relates to intermittent fasting, is that when you don't eat food, or you just eat protein, a small amount of protein, you're not going to eat 60 grams of protein on your first meal. What happens is your pancreas, which is a gland right up here in your gut, right kind of next to your stomach, it actually secretes insulin when you eat too much sugar. So you've heard of insulin resistance and high blood sugar. When you eat too much sugar, your pancreas will secrete insulin, which, in an effort to try to get all that sugar that's in your blood into your cells, such as your muscles and into your brain and things like that. When you don't eat food or eat high protein meals, the pancreas doesn't have to secrete as much insulin. Thus, you still want to maintain a level energy level of blood sugar. Your pancreas secretes a different hormone called glucagon, and this hormone will start to get into your blood, and what this hormone does is it actually activates the fat cells to break down the fat and produce glucose so that you can maintain an even level of blood sugar or blood glucose in your bloodstream. This is an advantage. Now, if you're constantly eating foods, particularly high carbohydrate foods, throughout the day, your pancreas is always secreting insulin, your blood sugar is going up and down like this, and you never get this benefit. So number one, start pushing breakfast forward and dinner backwards, so there's a smaller window of which thus you're eating. Number two, you're going to eat protein in your first meal at least. And number three, and this is a great benefit, it helps with intermittent fasting, is if you want to stimulate that glucagon, that hormone that's developed from the pancreas to shrink your fat cells, then what you should do is always walk for 10 minutes after every meal. It's very simple. Whatever you eat, get out of the house, go that way for 5 minutes, set a timer, and then walk back for 10 minutes total time. What this does, and research has shown, almost everything in the literature shows that when you exercise after a meal, you can reduce your blood sugar by 20-30 points, just like that. It's a great little technique because what happens is when you're exercising after the meal, your muscles, particularly the soleus muscle of your calf muscles of your legs, they will require a lot of glucose and blood sugar. So if your blood sugar does go up because of the meal, then getting out for just 10 minutes literally sucks the blood sugar out of the blood vessels and into these muscles for energy, so these muscles can contract. So those are some ways that you can start intermittent fasting if you're interested in doing this.